Hello everyone, it's me, CJ, the voice you have gotten used to, bringing you the Insanity episode of the How to Play Call of Cthulhu 7th edition series. As always, you can use the timestamp you see here and the description to jump across different topics in the episode. Also, you can refer to the previous episodes in the series playlist if you need clarification. Insanity is the mechanic that sets Call of Cthulhu apart from other tabletop RPGs. Contrary to what novice players and observers believe, it is not just another health meter to keep track of. It is actually a very powerful tool for storytelling, emotional manipulation, and endless source of comedy. But before I go deep into the rules, let me thank Amino again for sponsoring yet another episode of this series. I have been playing around with the story feature and I discovered these rather interesting polls and quiz features. So I have created a firearm flash tip, summarizing the pros and cons of the different types of firearms in Call of Cthulhu. At the end of the story, you will be asked what's your preferred firearm. Check it out and leave a vote, because I think it would be quite interesting to see and compare your preferred weapons. Just search for my name, CJ Leung, and you can find this video and more. Download the Amino app using the link below and start voting. Okay, now, without further ado, let's dive into the madness. Here is the absolute basics of how sanity points work. In Call of Cthulhu, your investigators start with a certain amount of sanity points. Throughout the game, they will come across various shocking scenes, experiences, and monsters that will gnaw through their sanity points. When their sanity reaches 0, they will go permanently insane and is out of the game. In certain situations, death may even be a mercy for some investigators. And to better illustrate the details of the sanity mechanics, let's go back to the story of Lucille and her friends. After defeating the heavily armed mobsters with wits and tactics, our investigators continued their search for the cultists' hidden treasure. As Scott and Rosalind broke through a locked door in the basement, they were assaulted by the gruesome scene of a blood ritual. And obviously this calls for a sanity roll! When the keeper calls for a sanity roll, the affected investigators, in this case Scott and Rosalind, who are on scene, has to roll their percentile dice and get results equal to or under their sanity points. Sanity loss is permanent. Scott was created with 50 sanity points, but since he had lost 6 points from seeing a ghoul a few days ago, his sanity points is now at 44. And that is his new target number. As your investigator loses more and more sanity points, it becomes increasingly harder to succeed, reflecting the growing fragility of their minds. In this instance, Scott succeeded, but Rosalind wasn't as lucky. Due to the gruesomeness of this scene, I, the keeper, determined that the sanity loss would be 1d8. But even though Scott succeeded, he is not completely off the hook. Depending on the type of horror, those who succeeded may still lose some sanity points. In this instance, he would lose just 1 point. Naturally, the more horrific the horror you come across is, the bigger is the sanity loss dice. Since Rosalind had lost more than 5 points, she has to make an intelligence roll. If she succeeds, she would understand the severity of the horror and become temporarily insane. It is kicked off by a bout of madness. There are 3 types of insanities: temporary, indefinite, and permanent. As I have already mentioned, investigators would become permanently insane when their sanity points fall to 0. The investigator sheet is given to the keeper, and the keeper can decide on the character's fate in whatever way he or she sees fit. I, for one, usually have more in store for your insane character than simple death. But before that, your investigator get to savor the different degrees of delectable madness. As you have seen, they would get temporary insanity if they lose 5 or more sanity points and succeeding their intelligence roll. It lasts for 1d10 hours. Rosalind rolled 9, so the effect of the temporary insanity will linger for 9 hours. She will automatically recover at the end, or when she had a good night's sleep in a safe place. That is why it is sometimes beneficial to create a dumber investigator. They get indefinite insanity when they lose 1/5 of their sanity within one in-game day. Rosalind started the day with 70 points. so she would get indefinitely insane if she lost a total of 14 or more before the end of the day. As the name suggests, investigators don't recover from this type of insanity automatically as time passes. They would only recover at the end of the scenario or campaign chapter. However, if you are playing a scenario or chapter with longer time frame, there is a chance to recover after a month of treatment. Private care is always better than institutional care. The second option is usually cheap or free state-provided facilities with lower chance of success. This is why it is good to have generous, rich friends. It is a two-step process. First, you roll the percentile dice to determine whether the treatment is a success. If it is, then the investigator recovers some sanity points and get to make a sanity roll. If the sanity roll is succeeded, then the indefinite insanity is cured. A bout of madness always happens at the start of insanities. While the investigators have lingering insanity, their minds are in a fragile state. Accumulated phobias and manias will flare up, and whenever they lose any sanity points in this condition, it will trigger another bout of madness. To better illustrate this, let's see it in action. After losing 8 sanity points and succeeding her intelligence roll, Rosalind suffers from temporary insanity, which will last for 9 in-game hours since she rolled a 9. And as always, a bout of madness occurs at the start of the insanity. The keeper then rolls the d10 dice twice, one to determine the duration of the madness and another to determine how the madness is manifested. I am going to keep most of the madness type hidden because it is more fun to be surprised by the keeper. But among the madnesses, there are entries that will give your investigator a phobia or a mania. Phobias are irrational fears against certain things. There is a list of phobias in the Keeper rulebook that you can roll for, but the Keeper should really pick the most relevant phobias for the situation. I can even make one up if it doesn't exist in the book, but in this case, I think hemophobia, fear of blood, would be most relevant. While insane and exposed to the subject of her phobia, actions other than fighting, fleeing, making insanity rolls and reality checks are made with penalty. But while the bout of madness is in effect, she would be overcome by her new phobia and see blood everywhere. On the other hand, mania is the compulsion to do certain things. In this situation, dipsomania, the abnormal craving for alcohol, would be appropriate for her personality. While insane, she would have to indulge in that mania if she's exposed to it. Otherwise, all her rolls would be made with penalty. But during the bout of madness, she would be overcome by her new mania and want a drink now. Conveniently, the result of Rosalind's roll indicates that she had developed a mania. So we will put down dipsomania on the back of her investigator sheet. By the way, remember that you can proudly show off your collection of phobias and manias if you have survived the campaign long enough. The bout of madness lasts 1d10 combat rounds. But if you're out of combat, you don't have to roleplay it round by round, unless the situation calls for it, like if you're crossing an unstable bridge. Once the bout of madness is over, the lingering insanity is in effect. All the phobias and manias she had previously collected would become active. Currently she has only 1, but if she has like 10, then she might as well stay at home. Unless of course, she is also claustrophobic. When the insanity is over, players can still roleplay the phobias and manias as character traits, but they don't impose penalties. Also, a successful psychoanalysis skill check can temporarily suppress the effect of phobias and manias. After picking up the book that's the focus of the ritual, Rosalind remembered that there was a bottle left by the mobster in the previous room. But as she turned back, she saw before her 2 shambling ghouls. How did they get there? A barrage of rapidly fired questions entered her head. There was only one staircase leading down to the basement. How did they get past Phineas and Lucille? Did they turn into ghouls? Is this an illusion? Well, that last question is actually a very good question to ask. Because while the investigator is suffering the lingering effects of insanity, they may be having delusions. But not all delusions has to be bad. A crafty keeper may alternate between beneficial and harmful delusions to keep the players on their toes. Rosalind heard the whisper of a familiar voice. Her deceased husband is telling her that what she is seeing is actually just a delusion. If she does not try to dispel it with a reality check, what she sees will be treated as if they were real. and she would have to make a sanity roll as if she had seen real ghouls. To make a reality check roll, she has to make a sanity roll. If she succeeds, the delusion will be dispelled, and she can't be affected by another delusion until she loses more sanity points. But Rosalind failed, so she loses 1 sanity point. And of course, sanity loss while insane means that she is going to suffer another bout of madness. The silver lining here is that while the bout of madness is in fact, she will not have to make a sanity roll for seeing the ghouls. She stumbles back into the ritual room to escape the ghouls. If they are still within her sight at the end of her bout of madness though, she will have to make a sanity roll as if they were real. A successful use of the psychoanalysis skill may also end the delusion, but unfortunately none of them has training in that skill. Seeing the severity of her reaction, Phineas decided to back away and not worsen the situation. He made Scott send her home, and they will plan their next move once Rosalind got a hold of herself. This may not be such a good move though, because once she is at home, she is hearing more of her husband's voice. It beckoned her to come to his study, so that they can be reunited. All she has to do is to accept his new form. His ghoulish new form. Acting in character, Rosalind did not make a reality check roll, so she has to make a sanity roll for seeing the ghoul. She failed and lost 5 sanity points. The total she had lost during the day is 14 points, which means that she had lost 1/5 of her sanity and is now afflicted by indefinite insanity. You don't need to roll intelligence for indefinite insanity. It also takes precedent over your temporary insanity if you get both at the same time. By the way, remember to note down how much sanity you have lost to specific mythos creatures. I will tell you what this is for later. The dangers of being alone is that when the investigator enters a bout of madness, they will use the summary bout of madness chart, the one in page 159 of the Keeper's Rulebook, instead of the real-time table in 157. They will disappear for the next 1d10 hours, and when they regain their senses, they will have suffered the full brunt of their madness and have done things they don't even remember doing. Also, if the insanity, temporary or indefinite, is caused by mythos-related source or mythos monsters, they would gain 5 Cthulhu Mythos points if their mythos skill is at 0, and they would get 1 point for every subsequent instance. Cthulhu Mythos is a knowledge that will forever change the fabric of your investigator's reality. For every point that they gain, it reduces their maximum sanity by the same amount, which starts at 99, so Rosalind's maximum sanity is now 94. When I said that sanity loss is permanent, it means that lost sanity is not recovered automatically, but there are multiple ways to gain sanity points. First is to complete a scenario or a chapter. The more you accomplish in the scenario, the more you can recover. As they say, no risk, no gain. If you spend the whole scenario running away and ignoring victims, you may even lose more sanity. Second is to increase your skills to 90 or over. The boost of confidence from mastering a skill also increases your sanity. I will talk more about this in the improvement and recovery episode. Third is the use of psychoanalysis skill. It can only be done once a month, after a full month of treatment. The fourth method is self-help. By role-playing one entry in their backstory during downtime, in between scenarios, they can make a sanity roll. If they succeed, they will recover 1d6 sanity. Phineas, Lucille called out. That's Uncle Phineas, he corrected. Tell me, Mr. Robinson, what and where is Innsmouth? If they fail, they will lose 1 sanity point and the nature of the relationship will be forever changed. By the way, before we end the episode, remember that I made you note down how much sanity you have lost to different types of mythos creatures? Because after a while, your investigator can just get used to the monster. Monster-induced sanity loss is capped to the maximum amount you can possibly lose. Since sanity loss from meeting a ghoul is 1d6, the maximum would be 6. And since Rosalind has lost 5, she can only lose 1 more before she gets completely used to the ghouls, and she won't lose any more sanity whenever she sees them. The number will eventually go down, but you can learn more about it in the improvement and recovery episode. Anyway, now that you are familiar with the basics of Call of Cthulhu, we can move on to character creation, which is the next episode. Remember that you can help the channel by subscribing, using the affiliate links below to purchase the rulebook, and also by getting the series merchandise. CJ, over and out.